Part 1. The Gilded Invitation. For decades, the Alcubierre drive had been a mathematical ghost, a beautiful set of equations that promised the stars but required more energy than a dying sun. Then came the vain Turing reactor. By folding space-time into a localized bubble, the UES Enterprise didn't just move, it redefined where here was. When the Enterprise executed humanity's first faster-than-light jump, emerging in the shimmering distortion of a warp field near Proxima Centauri, they were not greeted by an empty void. Waiting for them was the Consortium of Unified Sovereignties. The alien craft, the harbinger of accord, was a geometric nightmare of obsidian and light. 3 miles long, it hummed with a frequency that vibrated in the marrow of the human crew's bones. The greeting was instantaneous, transmitted directly into the ship's computer systems. Earth was invited to discuss its ascension. Captain Elias Thorne, a veteran of the bloody Martian resource wars, led the diplomatic party. He expected monsters or gods. He found bureaucrats. High Exarch Vol, a bioluminescent, multi-limbed entity draped in liquid gold fabrics, hovered within a localized anti-gravity field. "You have pierced the veil of the great silence, infant species," Vol chimed, his voice perfectly modulated through a translation matrix. "The consortium welcomes you. We offer you the eternal mandate, an end to hunger, the cure for senescence, and a seat among the interstellar elite." Thorne instructed his ship's AI, Aurora, to run a linguistic and legal analysis on the millions of pages of light code projecting the contract. The results blinked onto Thorne's retinal display. Condition 1, total surrender of Earth's sovereign governance. Condition 2, mandatory genetic restructuring to remove aggressive and unpredictable traits. Condition 3, annual tithes of 400 million humans reclassified as kinetic resource units to serve in the consortium's hazardous mining and vanguard military operations. "This isn't an invitation," Thorne said, his voice dropping an octave as he looked at the Exarch. "It's a bill of sale." Vol's bioluminescence shifted to a predatory violet. "The galaxy is a meat grinder, Captain. You either turn the handle or you are the meat. Choose." Thorne didn't blink. "We'll take our chances with the grinder. Earth declines the collar." The Enterprise executed an emergency jump back to Sol. They thought they had escaped. They didn't realize they had just walked into a trap. Part 2. The Great Caging and the Dark Decades. The consortium did not pursue with warships. To them, humanity was a stray dog that had refused a collar. Such a beast was a liability to be quarantined. Within 48 hours, the perimeter of the Sol system erupted in light. Thousands of automated moon-sized satellites skipped into Sol's gravity well, weaving the Aegis lattice. It was a one-way mirror made of hyper-dense gravitons. Light could enter, but nothing. No radio wave, no ship, no particle of matter could leave. Earth was effectively deleted from the universe. The first 10 years were defined by panic, economic ruin. Interstellar stock markets and asteroid mining economies collapsed overnight. The resource wars, too. Fear of finite resources led to brutal conflicts across Earth, Mars, and Luna. The consortium watched from outside, waiting for humanity to bomb itself back to the Stone Age and beg for intervention. The paradigm shift, 2165. The turning point arrived with the publication of the Soul-Bound Manifesto. It proved a simple mathematical truth. While the system was closed, the energy output of our sun was sufficient to sustain a population of trillions for billions of years. The realization washed over the surviving factions. We are not trapped in here with them. We are locked in a room with a star. By 2018, humanity signed the Treaty of Olympus Mons, forming the Soul Defense and Advancement Initiative, SDAI. We stopped fighting each other and looked up. Part 3. The Crucible of Sol. Total isolation forced a radical evolution. Without the ability to expand outward, humanity expanded inward, turning the solar system into the ultimate mega-engineering forge. 1. Stellar lifting and the Dyson Forge Mercury was dismantled entirely. Its mass was converted into a Dyson swarm of magnetic siphons orbiting the sun. Through stellar lifting, humanity stripped raw hydrogen, helium, and heavier elements directly from the star's equator. This provided virtually infinite building materials and energy. The inner system became a blindingly bright factory. 2. The Matryoshka brains. Because the Aegis lattice absorbed all conventional sensor sweeps, humanity needed to simulate the shield's physical properties to find a weakness. They built Matryoshka brains, nested shells of computational matter surrounding Venus and Mars. These planetary-scale supercomputers ran trillions of simulations a second, fueled by the raw energy of the sun, calculating the exact resonant frequency of the alien cage. 3. Biological hardening and gestalt synapse integration. To survive the coming war, humans merged with silicon. Pilots reinforced their skeletal structures with carbon nanotubes to withstand 50G accelerations. They were suspended in amniotic fluorocarbon fluid. Their cerebral cortex is hardwired directly into their ship's AI. The fleet operated as a synchronized hive mind, processing billions of tactical permutations per second. We were no longer just a species, we were a weapon. Part 4. The Breakthrough. In 2035, the Venusian Matryoshka brain found the flaw. The Aegis lattice was impenetrable to kinetic force, but vulnerable to a localized false vacuum decay. The SDAI constructed the Spear of Longinus, a 50-mile-long orbital superweapon near Jupiter, designed to channel the entire energy output of the Dyson swarm into a single, infinitesimally small point. Behind it sat the Terran swarm, 10,000 warships forged from Aegis Weave, a programmable smart matter that could shift its molecular structure in nanoseconds to absorb impacts. Leading the charge was Admiral Kalen Thorne, a cybernetic descendant of the man who first said no. They thought we were a resource, Kalen broadcasted to the system-wide neural feed. They forgot that seeds grow in the dark. Ignite the spear. The spear fired. A beam of pure, universe-breaking mathematics hit the Aegis lattice. The amethyst grid shattered into glowing dust. As the Terran swarm poured through the breach, they found the consortium's blockade fleet exactly where they had left it 200 years ago. They still used elegant, glowing dreadnoughts and plasma shields. They demanded immediate surrender. Admiral Thorne didn't answer. He transmitted a firing solution. The Terran ships fired relativistic kill vehicles, RKVs, solid slugs of ultra-dense tungsten accelerated to 99.9% the speed of light. The SDAI relied on the fundamental relativistic kinetic energy equation. EK-VNads are VNs minus C quadrata va quadrata VNs minus VNs MC quadrata. Because the RKVs were pure mass, consortium energy shields, designed to deflect charged plasma, could not stop them. The majestic harbinger of Accord and its escort fleet were atomized in less than 3 minutes, reduced to expanding clouds of superheated dust. Thorne broadcasted a single unencrypted hyperwave message across the galaxy. The cage is broken. Look to the star you once called Sol. We are coming, and we do not bring collars. Part 5. The Fracture of the Consortium. 3,000 light-years away on the capital world of Elysium Prime, the political fallout was catastrophic. The myth of the consortium's divine invulnerability shattered the moment Thorne's telemetry data played out in the Grand Synod. High Exarch Vol was dragged before the council. By trapping humanity with a limitless energy source and giving them 2 centuries of uninterrupted time to plot revenge, he had acted as the evolutionary pressure cooker that forged the consortium's doom. Vol was stripped of his bioluminescence and banished to the outer rim. But the worst damage was sociological. Thorne's broadcast reached the kinetic resource units across thousands of enslaved worlds. Mutinies erupted. Antimatter refineries went dark. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see if the humans were real. Part 6. The Liberation Campaign and First Contact. The swarm did not aim for the capital. They aimed for the chains. Their first target was Kalath Prime, a brutal, high-gravity mining world that supplied 40% of the consortium's antimatter fuel. The perspective of the enslaved. Vec was a Corvidian, an avian species with hollow bones, native to a low-gravity paradise world. For 4 generations, his people had been enslaved on Coloth Prime, their bodies slowly crushing under the heavy gravity as they mined volatile isotopes for the luminary caste, the consortium overseers. Vec was hauling a sled of raw ore across the ash-choked plains when the sky simply stopped glowing. The consortium overseers, hovering in their gilded anti-gravity chariots, looked up in confusion. There were no warning sirens. There were no incoming plasma barrages. Instead, the atmosphere tore open with the deafening sonic booms of invisible kinetic strikes. High above, out of visual range, Terran RKVs were systematically deleting the consortium orbital defense platforms. The sky lit up with expanding rings of vaporized metal. Then came the drop pods. They didn't glide down on elegant repulsor lifts. They slammed into the crust of Coloth Prime like meteors, cratering the ground and throwing up geysers of rock and ash. Vex scrambled backward, his wings trembling as the dust cleared. The overseers raised their plasma lances, shouting commands in the name of the Accord. The front of the nearest pod blew outward. Vec expected a god of light, something akin to the consortium. What stepped out was a nightmare of brutalist engineering. It was a Terran shock trooper. Standing 8 feet tall in interlocking plates of matte black Aegis weave armor, the human was heavily cybernetic, moving with a heavy, terrifying hydraulic grace that ignored Coloth Prime's crushing gravity. There was no glowing face, only a blank angular visor that locked onto the luminary overseers. The overseers fired. Splashes of superheated plasma washed over the human's armor, but the smart matter simply absorbed the heat, glowing a dull red before routing the energy into internal sinks. The human didn't even flinch. In one fluid motion, the Terran raised a heavy magnetic rotary cannon and fired. The concussive roar of hypervelocity solid slugs shredded the air, ignoring the overseers' kinetic shields and turning their gilded chariots into scrap metal in less than 2 seconds. Silence fell over the mining camp, save for the hissing of the Terran's cooling vents. Vec cowered in the ash, waiting for the new master to claim him. He waited for the collar. The towering human turned, heavy metal boots crunching the gravel as it approached the trembling Corvidian. It reached down. Vec squeezed his eyes shut. But instead of striking him, the Terran's heavily armored gauntlet gently gripped the heavy, biometric explosive collar locked around Vec's neck. A micro-laser flashed from the human's wrist, bypassing the consortium encryption in an instant. With a soft clack, the collar fell into the ash. The Terran's visor retracted, revealing a scarred, exhausted, but undeniably human face. The soldier looked at Vec, looked at the thousands of other enslaved miners, staring in stunned disbelief, and spoke through a translation speaker on his chest plate. "Stand up," the human said, his voice a rough, gravelly rasp. He unslung a secondary kinetic rifle from his back and held it out to the avian alien. "Your shift is over. Now we hunt." Epilogue. The new apex. Humanity did not just join the galaxy. We broke the hierarchy. The consortium's hold unraveled world by world as the Terran swarm became the sword of the enslaved. We had spent 200 years in the dark, learning how to survive the pressure of a caged star. When we finally stepped out, we made sure no one would ever be locked in the dark again.